welcome all to this video. And we are a couple of days on from my last one, and I thought we'd go back to Automobilista 2 because I haven't really done anything in a good couple of weeks now, and they've had some various updates, and I thought I'd just try it out. And two things really. Number one is they've now added the Thunderstorm setting for weather, which you'll see at some point in the race. What you're also seeing is that there will be a thunderstorm setting, and then we're also going to have a drying track throughout the race as well, so we'll be able to see, sort of how the live track works. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that there's a group of fans who do quite like Automobilista 2, and they post comments, and one of them recently was that sort of track car combinations, and they suggested the P4 class of car around Interlagos. Now I gave that a try, and it is fun. Certainly in VR it's very fun, but the pace was a bit strange because there's two types of cars, and basically one's a lot quicker than the other, and I needed to sort of play around with the sort of AI competitiveness of that. So I've left that for the minute. So in the meantime, I am in the Formula 3 category at Interlagos. It's a quick 10-minute race. We are in VR mode, we are in helmet cam mode, and yeah, so it's Thunderstorm, and we should be going with a bit of a dry line at some point in the race. So first things that I've noticed, and to be fair it is kind of the same with most racing games, that when you start throwing rain into the game, your computer, GPU, CPU, or whatever you want to say, does tend to start to falter. And certainly in VR I noticed that there was sort of a lack of or drop in frame rate, and that's kind of what I noticed a lot with the spray, especially with bunched up cars. When you got too close to them, the frame rate would drop a bit, not significantly, but it was just enough to know that your computer's struggling a bit, which was a bit of a shame. Maybe if I reduce the number of AI cars down a bit. I am in the process of upgrading my CPU, which will happen in a couple of weeks time. My GPU is a 1060, so that needs updating as well. I mean, it does well, but in VR you do really need, as we unfortunately just slightly spin out there, get a bit of a nearly just take out a competitor, but sorry, we noticed the big puddle on the left there. That's causing a bit of aquaplaning. So yeah, the GPU, if you want to do VR, is very important, and I do need to at some point upgrade that to be able to run VR a lot smoother. But as you can see now, we're a bit further away from any AI. We've got this guy who's quite a bit ahead of us. He's going to produce a bit of rain from the tyres, a bit of spray, but actually it's not overly significant and doesn't really cause too much. It's, as I say, it's when the cars bulk up together. we're coming to the end of this lap. You notice that it's a lot brighter than it was when we first started. The sun is slowly starting to come out. The spray is still there from the AI, and you'll see the sort of the puddles sticking out a bit more now. But you'll also notice that we'll start to get a drying line, but only on parts of the circuit, which is what I do like about the sort of the slightly mad engine, the Project Cars 2 and the Automobilista 2, is that, and also they use the live track, which is that this part of the circuit, which hopefully you'll see in this view, you do get the nice drying line, and you'll notice a massive amount of extra grip. And then this part of the circuit, which we're coming into now, let's call it Sector 2, is still very wet. And again, you just suddenly notice you're going from a lot of grip, and then suddenly there's a lack of grip, and that is quite exciting when you're racing. I know it's like maybe in the real world it's not, but when you're sat at home racing around, to have that sort of, I don't know, how do you call it, the sort of the difference in weather conditions just adds that extra bit of excitement to the racing. But as we go on racing, which we've only got a handful of laps left, you'll see that racing line starts to appear more and more. But you also notice the big puddles that are sat on certain parts of the track. I think there's one on the start-finish straight that we're coming up to. There's one just before the last corner that it's slowly getting smaller, but you still kind of have to try and avoid it as best you can. That one there in particular was right across the track, so I was not going to be able to avoid that. But the one towards the end of the lap, you'll see that slowly gets smaller and smaller, and you just have to ever so slightly put your right side of the car onto on the curbs to try and avoid too much aquaplaning. But anyway, so Automobilista 2, which if you're quite new to these videos and you're being like, oh, this isn't a Zeta Corsa and this isn't Project Cars and this isn't F1, obviously, what is this? So it's a Brazilian company, and they've decided to take Project Cars and just try and tweak it and make it a little better in various ways. So it can look very similar in some cases, but ultimately what they're trying to do is take something which was okay, quite good and quite unique, and they're just trying to make it a lot better. And quite honestly, yeah, at the start there was a few little issues and a number of bugs which they're trying to iron out, but actually they're really getting on with this now, and certainly things like the AI, fantastic. The AI is a lot better, the braking's a lot better, everything is just generally coming in quite nicely. Good selection of cars to try, from GT3s to GT1s, open wheelers, all the ex-Formula 1 cars, all those types of things. The mods for the liveries are all coming back out, and it's just looking a nice polished game. And certainly in VR mode, which we're running here, it makes you feel like you are there and that you are really driving the car. So if you ever do get to experience VR in any form, then try and see if you can download a copy of Automobilista 2. So we're on to the final lap now, and you can see that we're unfortunately not really going to have anyone to race against due to my mistake, but the track's drying out quite nicely. You see you've got this nice little drying line, and the Formula 3 cars at the beginning, from what I can remember, were a bit more difficult to handle, but actually now they're really quite nice to handle. In the slower corners, putting on the power is a bit tricky, but no, they're good cars. Again, if you're watching this, let me know what your car and combo track combo are, and I'll take a look at them. I know Interlagos pretty well, from various games, and this is a good combination. Really is a nice track to drive. So yeah, if you we're running a bit wide onto the grass. Luckily we don't spin and we don't lose any spaces. But yeah, so let me know in the comments if you like what you see. Give it a thumbs up. If there's anything any comments you want to make, let me know. And until next time, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.